watching Jtv, your #1 Christian channel.
Good afternoon, viewers. My name is Mwangi, and today you're watching a show called We Do Recover. Today we have a wonderful guest. And she will introduce herself before we get into the topic of discussion today.
Wow. Good afternoon, viewers. I'm Rosemary, Ngugi. Yes.
Yes, wonderful. But before we get into today's topic, a few weeks ago we had a guest, and his name was Mr. Njoroge. Mr. Njoroge has had a very fatal accident on Thika Road, and actually now the family is looking at ways and means as to raise funds. If you'd like to watch those episodes, go to our Facebook page or our YouTube page and find out more information about that incident. Now, as we move on, today we are talking about uncovering childhood wounds. But before that, we need to know who is this person that we're speaking to. So, Rosemary, as I knew her, is a teacher. But lately, I came to know her also as a transformational life coach. So who is a transformational life coach?
Now, a transformational life coach is somebody who coaches you, just like a sports coach.
So most of us, when we hear coach, we look for people who are wearing uniforms, tracksuits.
Yes.
So you're the one who's preparing us for the run for life.
Yes.
Awesome.
Is it really preparing you? No. I walk with you. I like to say that a transformational life coach lights a torch on your path. The path you decide to take. The path you've always wanted to take. You know where you want to go. Even when you're very little, you will say, I want to be a pilot. I want to be whatever. A transformational life coach comes to you when you're wondering, okay, I wanted to be a pilot, but now, najiona kwa matatu. Nikisema pilot, I didn't mean pilot wa matatu. I wanted to be a pilot. So transformational life coach asks you questions that are going to lead you to becoming a pilot.
Okay.
It's just an example.
It's a very good example.
Yes.
So how do you help these people navigate whatever issues that they come up? By the way, at what point in their lives do they look for you?
Most people look for a life coach when they are stuck. They're either stuck at relationships. You realize your relationships kind of never work. You're stuck in career. You tell me, I've gone to school, I've studied, but I don't seem to really find the right career, or I'm getting jobs, I can't keep them.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when most people will come looking for you. And many people look for a transformational life coach when they're almost falling. Yeah.
Just before rock bottom.
Oh, yes. Sometimes even they're there. Yes, at rock bottom.
Okay. So, where do you find life coaches? This is a new term it's a new term in this Kenyan society.
Yes.
New term-ish.
It's a new term-ish. Interesting enough, I think life coaches have been there, akina Bob Proctor, but we thought hizo ni vitu za maju. But it's something that has been there. People have been doing it. Others have been calling themselves motivational speakers. That is what has been very familiar with us.
Okay.
The motivational speaking has been familiar, so we know those. But the life coach thingy it's actually coming up very recently. For me, I discovered it in the last, I think, over 10 years ago. That's when I met the first life coach. She's called Irene Morevi. Have you heard of that lady?
No.
Yeah, Irene Morevi is the first lady I ever had that was a coach. No, actually a coach. I couldn't understand what coaching was all about. That chick cannot run. And I thought coaching was sports. She was always in heels and speaking very eloquently. And I was like, wow, I want to be like her. So that's when I first heard about life coaching in the year 2011.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the difference between life coaching and what Kenyans love to hate, motivational speaking?
Now, a motivational speaker simply motivates. They just speak and motivate. They tell you, you want to go to Nairobi. You can go to Nairobi. you have everything it takes to go to Nairobi. In
Uh-huh.
fact, begin the journey.
Mm-hmm.
But now the life coach will ask you, oh, you want to go to Nairobi? Where
Uh-huh.
are you? Assuming you're like, from where I come from, you're in Gatondo, in my deep village called Kakera, very far.
Mm-hmm.
Not far though. You'll tell me you're in Kakera, and I'll ask you, so how much money do you have? Somebody
Okay.
will say, I have 1,000 shillings, another I have 1,500, another I have 500 shillings.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll ask you, okay, with 500 shillings, as we go with the person with 500 shillings, that's the person that is down there.
Yes.
You'll tell them, okay, very good. So what means do you prefer?
Mm-hmm.
Even before even you think about the money, what means do you prefer? And you tell me, I would rather Uber,
Mm-hmm.
because that's better with the COVID season. Or I don't mind using Matatu, because I don't have a timeline.
Yes.
Or I can take a bike because I want to get there very fast.
Mm-hmm.
Then now we shall look at the money that you have, and you're going to navigate through how you're going to get to Nairobi. I'll ask you, fine, you're in Kagera village, so you want to go to Ngenda, or you want to go to Nembu?
Mm-hmm.
You'll tell me, I want to go to Ngenda.
Mm-hmm.
We shall go to Ngenda. We shall now decide, how do we go to Ngenda? Do we walk? Do we take a bike?
Okay.
So we take the entire journey. The coach walks the entire journey with you,
Mm-hmm.
showing you the how. Sometimes I may tell you, now we can't take this journey because we can't take this route.
Yes.
Because if you take this route, you will take 3 years before you get to Nairobi. But if you take this route, you might be there faster.
Okay.
You might, yeah.
So you're talking about something that's a step bigger or a step further than mentorship.
Yes.
Something way more involving,
Yes.
a bigger relationship that should take a much longer time.
Yes.
But again, for you, you mentioned that you met your first life coach in 2011.
Yes.
But for you, it has also been a journey.
Oh, wow, yes.
It has been a journey to even become a life coach. And I believe, as we were talking before, you mentioned that for a person to become a life coach, the first person they must coach is themselves.
Yes.
So you walked a journey on your own.
No.
No, you walked your journey.
I didn't walk the journey with self. By the way, you can't self-coach. You can. No, you cannot. You need a coach.
Aha.
You cannot be a coach without a coach.
So you cannot be self-contained.
You cannot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, coaching, all helping professions, that is coaching, counseling, et al., you need somebody. You need to be poured into, because you're pouring into people.
Okay.
You need someone who's pouring into. It's just like pastoring. You can become a pastor and you're like, me, I'm the bishop, I'm everything, I am, God called me. You, nini wengine hapana. There, you have to have somebody that pours into you when things are thick, because there are days I will wake up and I don't seem to understand what coaching I'm doing. I even will send a text to my coach and tell the coach, I feel like I'm lying. I don't even believe in what I'm saying. Now my coach is going to walk with me.
Okay.
When she walks with me, my coach is a lady, an amazing woman. I'll tell you about her.
Yes.
So she will now listen to me. She will ask me questions. She calls them empowering questions. And after the questions, I'll be like, yeah, I believe in myself. Let's go on.
So it's empowering, not bamboozling.
No, it's bamboozling is what now? When you're using English questions.
Changanisha mutu.
Empowering.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned the first thing that you had to look at was you had to go back to your childhood. So what happened? How was your childhood? Who is this person that had to go back and deal with issues starting with childhood?
This girl, the reason why she had to go back to childhood is because all other things were not working. I had become a church person. I got born again, I think, in 2010, when everything went south. You know, when everything in your life is going this way and you're like, ni wapi kuna solution, I think I can go to God. And I went to church, got born again. I tried living a very holy life and underlined very, and it was becoming very hard. And I got born again when I had a child. So there was a lot of judgment in the church.
So basically you're a single mother.
I'm a single mom. So when I continued my walk, I have had a few challenges as I was living. So church was not making sense for me. I still know that there's no place I can go besides church. I have a deep relationship with God, which has been there for a very long time. That would make me question people. Why are you judging me and God has not judged me? Why are you people having a problem with me and the Bible says that the old is gone and the new has come? So I had a problem with how church was. I had a problem with some of the things I would see in the church. I had a problem with some of like what we were talking about a few minutes before. Something that even you logically is not making sense, but in church it's accepted. You're judging me, the single mother, but you people are doing worse things than me who sinned, the single mother sin. So I began questioning, and then I got a TSC job. I'm a teacher. I got a TSC job because I thought the problems that were there before were because I didn't have money.
Yes.
Now I'm employed, and I have gotten a job with the government, and I'm hoping things will be fine. Then I feel very empty. And when COVID hit the country, the world, I had to start looking for something within me.
Yes.
What do I do? I always wanted to be a motivational speaker. Yes, you know, that is what we knew. Kwanza I would look at Benjamin Zulu, and not Benjamin Zulu. What's his name? This guy who's very handsome. Yes, what's his name?
Which one?
Robert. I cannot say the other name.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that one. You and I can agree not to say it. The
Why?
name is
Burale.
I don't know which one. So
Robert Burale.
yes.
Pastor Robert Burale.
Pastor Robert. And I really used to like so much about him, the way he speaks.
Yes.
I would attend Naked Truth. So there was something about him. And I've always believed in my ability to speak. I'm eloquent, I can speak, but it had died. 2020 comes, and I'm now thinking about raising my son, thinking about my child, and a group pops up on Facebook, and I'm supposed to join this group. I joined, and that's when I met my coach. She's called Susan Catherine Keter. This lady, I connected to her very fast. The way she was talking about stuff, she wasn't condemning us. She wasn't condemning us when we were thinking our sons, what. She wasn't condemning. She wasn't telling us to woman up. She wasn't telling us to take charge of our lives. She was very compassionate. I got interested. I reached out to her, and I was ready. I was like, I'm home. I think I can spare some time to study and understand myself.
Yes.
And yes, I began.
So during COVID, when other people are complaining, and during the first lockdown, when people are complaining and crying and gnashing their teeth, you took that time to learn something new.
Yes.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
That's what I did.
Wow. Wow. So what did you discover about yourself?
So I go to her and I tell her my problems. There are many. I told her my problems. She was like, tell me something about how you grew up. I told her, yeah, I just grew up. Kwani there was anything? See me growing up.
So nika kukata kona, you find a banana tree. It just happened. So Rosemary just happened.
Then I could start telling my story from, I think, 15. She told me, no, I'm not interested in this one. Let's go deeper. I'm thinking, no, I can't. It's not even important. I mean, I'm 30X. If I'm 30 whatever, this is when you're supposed to deal with now. You know, that's what we've learned, deal with the now. But she told me, no, every struggle, everything you go through in life has root in childhood. So she asked me, let's get into your childhood. Now, my childhood, I remember myself as a child of my grandmother. So what are you talking about my childhood? I may not have memories about it. Yes. But she constantly said, your childhood is very important. And I decided now, I told her I want to be a coach.
Okay. So you want to be like her?
Yes. Not even like her, like Irene Mureithi, remember?
Yes.
So she told me, yeah, that's nice, but you cannot become a coach when you have not dealt with yourself. I was like, no. Me, I am for helping people, not me, I don't have problems. Mine, I can deal with them. Me, I'm strong. And, I mean, we've known each other for a while. I think I'm a strong girl. She told me, no, you cannot be a coach if you have not worked on you. So the first person we are working on is you. It was not interesting. I had to dig deep into conception. What was happening in my mother's life when I was in her womb.
Wow. So, how did you, those were very hard questions to ask. So how did you go back and research?
First, my mom and I are building our relationship now.
Okay.
It's been a hard one. And then my grandmother had died. I am left like that. But she says, you must go there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, family, who do I call? If I call so and so, she'll tell mom.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't want mom to know what I'm doing. Because first, you need to take care of yourself. If you have a struggle. In fact, when I was telling her about my struggles, I mentioned my mom, the relationship I have with my mother.
Mm-hmm.
So she already knew my mother is not the one person I'm going to get information from.
Yes.
Because she's one of my biggest challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to have a relationship with a mother. I mean, how do you live as a lady when your relationship with your mother is strained?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, I started the journey. She talks about writing, so I'm trying to write, and ikifika ni hiyo history ya kitambo inakwama. Then she told me, no, do this. Call somebody that you know. Luckily, my grandmother's best friend of 50 years, they were friends for 50 years by the time my grandmother was dying.
Wow.
Yes. Yes. She used to tell me, we became friends when we got married. And they were friends. A former primary school teacher, I called her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My family, when they watch this, and they will know who it is, but she's been a very strong person, a real lady in our lives.
Yes.
So I called her and I told her I'd like us to talk.
Mm-hmm.
Kindly take a seat.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked and she told me stuff, deep stuff. I was conceived when my mom was in form 3.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely, I was not the child that a lady is excited to have. And the relationship with my father and my mom never worked. My mom went through a lot when she was expecting me. With her father, she was the favorite. She was my grandfather's only daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So you can imagine how much he loved her, and then she fell pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
She let him down so badly. So my mom went through a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Then my grandmother had already told me that I was left in her care at 3 weeks. Yes.
Because mom had to go back to school.
Mom had to go back to school.
Okay.
And she really never came back after that. I was the child who made my great-grandmother not to be cleaned, because my grandmother used to wash her. Now she could not because there was a baby.
Mm-hmm.
My mother used to sleep in the home, in her house.
Mm-hmm.
She could not because there's a child.
Mm-hmm.
So something began, when I was conceived, there was already rejection. I mean, which 18-year-old is ever happy to have a baby? None. So rejection kind of began there. And it is something that happened. She didn't want me. So I became that kind of child. And that continued. My grandparents were the best. They gave me the greatest love. But they were not my parents. They were not my mother. They were not my father. They were my grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up with that, being the other child. And growing up kidogo, as when I'm around now, actually, I discovered my mother was my mother when I think I was in class 4. Yeah, she
You used to
be
see
this
her?
pretty lady who used to come and ananibuy a dress. Na nini, you remember that orange? I used to call it something for drinking in Kikuyu, kanyamuga konywa. It was a Tetra Pak or Fanta.
Yeah.
You remember?
Mm.
She used to bring that.
Yes.
And that's what I knew her for. Not my mother. Mimi, I have never called anybody mother. Because I called my grandmother Maito, that the way she was called by everybody.
Yes.
So I didn't know she was my mom. And when she started coming into my life, it was to discipline me.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, I'm talkative. Me,
Yes.
I can talk even to the wrong people. Just talk. And of course, as a child, I was looking for attention.
Yes, yes.
And that continued a lot. In class 6, I went to boarding. I got the best. I keep saying by the village standards, I went to the best schools.
Mm-hmm.
I was taken to a school in Nyeri. From Gatondo, I went to Nyeri. Boarding school, private, very good. The best way she knew to parent.
Yes.
Then.
Mm-hmm.
So I continued esteem but down there. And something that happens when a child is not embraced in the home, even outside, nobody embraces this child. So if anybody wanted 100 bob from my mom,
Yes.
my story. Yes. I'm the child who would be beaten.
Uh-huh.
Nilionekana na mtu. Na probably hata huyo mtu, I'm not the one who was with that person. It is a relative.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we were me, you, and another lady, and probably you are chatting with the other lady.
Yes.
I would be beaten.
Mm-hmm.
Because somebody went and said. I was beaten a lot by my mom. So my esteem went really down.
Mm-hmm.
I knew my mother is the woman who comes home to fight.
Wow. So how did it get to a point whereby your mom couldn't speak to you first and find out what was happening? She would just be on your case.
Remember, my mother got me when she was very young.
Mm-hmm.
So for her, she has to parent a perfect child from brokenness. She's also broken. When I look at my family, I see that the cycle is niambali. She's also broken. She doesn't know better. So, nini mzuri, discipline. What does the Bible say even?
Spare the rod, spoil the child.
My mother never spared the coffee tree. I was really beaten. And so my esteem went really down. I was a very bright girl. My esteem went down. Everything about me was down. I thought I'm not good enough. I don't have what it takes. I remember when I was in class 7, class 8, I did something and the head teacher said, don't let the mother know. I've been beaten in school, yes. Mzazi amekuja visiting, unachapwa.
In front of everybody.
In front of everybody. Na unajua vile watu hujua ku-exaggerate. Na walimu pia. So that being beaten made me really not like myself. Growing up, I continued, of course, growing. I reached a point, I think, when I was in Form 1 or Form 2, nikaambia God naweza taka kupata mtoi by the time niko 23.
So you already started charting your life plan.
Yes. Because nikipata mtoi, the child is going to love me unconditionally, which I wasn't getting at home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Wow. So it's a repetition. What basically happened later on was a repetition of what happened with your mom.
Yes.
Wow. Wow. So, dear viewers, we're talking about this topic, and you know the show talks about mainly issues to deal with mental health. So how was your, other than your self-esteem, how would you term your mental environment during all that time?
I would want to say, I would not want to use the word toxic, but yes, I grew up in a toxic-ish space. Kulikuwa na vita.
Who was fighting, other than you being beaten by mom?
Other than me, other than me being beaten by my mom. Okay, there was no vita as per se, but there were words. Najua, when a child is growing up, they're like a sponge. Or ni receive too. By the way, from conception to 7 years, a child is just receiving. You know, they can't question, they just receive.
Receiving the words.
They receive the words, they receive the things, they receive the actions. And I think I grew up in an environment where there was a lot of demeaning. My grandmother was demeaned because my grandfather had grown up in a demeaning. Kwetu kuna maneno hata we were not shocked when they were said to us. Yeah, so the environment was not really good.
So you're talking about a lot of verbal abuse?
Yes, a lot of verbal abuse.
So anybody could say anything at any particular time about anything?
Not really, my grandfather. As much as he's the best man I ever met, he would say words, serious words. And I also watched a lot of alcohol. Not addiction as per se, but a lot of alcohol. People would drink, like, at water walikuwa nakunywa. And that made me decide I would never take alcohol, but I did take some time in life. So growing, I think I grew, my mental health status was just, we didn't think there was anything mental. I was told I'm supposed to go for counseling when I wasn't accepting teaching as a profession.
We'll get to that point. You must have been way past high school.
Oh, yeah. So high school, I was a child who was now seeking attention. You know what happens as a teenager when you lose them when they're younger? When they grow, they seem to keep seeking attention, looking for attention from all the wrong places.
So what are these behaviors that you are doing?
Of course, noise making, a lot.
Until today? Hey, Daisha.
No, it's talking. It's talking.
Okay.
I was a noise maker, serious one. Makosa tu ndogo ndogo. Funny enough, I've never been yule mwanafunzi wa makosa kubwa. Never expelled, never sent for suspension, never. But makosa ndogo ndogo, not doing homework, kushikwa, sijui umeruka kafensi kadogo ukienda wapi. Small issues. And very, very, very unfocused. I knew what I wanted, but I didn't know how to get to where I wanted to go. And I believed everybody hates me. I believed nobody is concerned with my life.
Yes.
So, dreams niko nazo, yes, but ziko tu. That's how my high school was. I don't remember anything fun in high school.
Wow. And for most Kenyans, they would say, I would like to go back to high school to relive it again.
Minus a few things.
Yes, minus viboko, obviously.
Do you know I was not beaten in high school? Yeah.
You were beaten at home.
Yeah, they were replacing. That is what God could not allow. You know, high school, people from Chinga, we were never beaten. We were not beaten. if you would be beaten, we jua tu umetoka expulsion ama suspension. But if you didn't go for an suspension, you were not beaten.
Ah, okay.
We had such a nice school.
Okay, so
But punishments come.
manual labor.
Yes. Mpaka tushajaribu, tusha nini. You know those shambas for agriculture?
Yes.
We were told to lima. Well, but God knew so. To the US. Yeah.
So, so coming back from high school, you finished high school and I believe you passed.
Yes, I did.
Yes. Came back home.
Came back home. Did computer as every other person. Do you remember that back then? I became a computer teacher.
Ah, okay.
Yes. I'm a very bright girl. I became a teacher. I used to teach computer in the college I'd gone to. And that's when I started now realizing that I'm a woman. I should get a boyfriend. And I got a boyfriend. That was it. That began another journey of self-discovery. You know, growing, something I didn't say in high school, the fact that I'm talkative, I had discovered that I'm very eloquent when I was in primary. A certain teacher called Mr. Waithaka told me, your English is really good. And I just come from the village. Kikuyu tu ndio imetoka. And so when I went to high school, I knew there is something I had. But I was very broke. Madhe hakuwa ananipea pocket money. So singe join clubs. So my eloquence ilikuwa tu chini ya maji. Though I hear people telling me even today that they liked my English when I was in high school.
Yes.
One time I was told by some girls, you know the way girls can put you down.
Yes.
That there is we used to have chinga boys, chinga girls. So there is a thing we had come up with that was chinga. There was a class and a class. So from 3X in chinga girls had a form 3A. So we'd call that class one class. So we got desk mates, and one person decided to tell me that the boys used to call me vampire.
Why?
I've no idea. And I think that was one of the words that messed my entire self.
Wow. Wow. So already, even now the boys also have started on you.
I thought the boys had, but I came to discover no, it was not true. Yeah. The girls decided to just tell me that. But one thing I've discovered now, people will see your star. You know, a mango tree does not know that it is a mango tree. It doesn't even know that the mangoes are sweet. What the mango does is doing its best being a mango. So there must have been something those girls could see. And and also remember, what is in my subconscious is rejection. So I'm only attracting rejection. Every person I meet is going to be rejecting me because that is what is in my subconscious.
So you're only feeling comfortable around rejection?
Oh yes, that's what is familiar. In fact, if you don't reject me, I wonder what is your problem. We are not doing what people do. People usually reject me, so please do it. So that vampire messed me up so badly. I thought I wasn't good enough. No man was going to like me. And mind you, I'm a girl. There's something about us that tells us that boy anafa kukulike. It didn't happen. And also because I have always been, growing up now, I told you that everybody had their mother but me.
Yes.
Madhe ako Nairobi, and kila mtu, my aunties would come and they're nice to their children. And they lived with their children. Mimi naishi Ushago. Relatives wa Ushago pia, they were not nice. I was never told this is your father. Mimi nilisikia kwa story. Saa zingine kwa matusi, kwa madharau.
So you came to find out your father through?
Nobody in particular. I wouldn't say this is the person who told me X is your father. Nilisikia tu. I was told matusi shuleni, unafanana na. That is how I got to know about it. So esteem yangu very, very down there. Boys now ndio wamesema mimi ni vampire. Really, this beauty? Of course I didn't know I was beautiful then. So going after high school, nimekuwa computer, nimepata ka boyfriend. Of course this it's so wrong. This boyfriend was somebody who was in another relationship, but to me that was nothing. He seemed to like me, and that is what I've never experienced. Of course it didn't last. Went to college. Now, when I completed high school, I was very happy. I got the grade to do my dream career. I wanted to be a radio journalist. I mean, I can talk for hours. See, now we talk for life. But then it didn't happen.
What happened?
My mother could not allow me to be a journalist. Because if I become a journalist, wewe unaweza kuwa smoker. Yeah.
That was the worst thing that she thought would happen to you, was become a smoker.
Imagine. Now my question is, you want to tell me I can't smoke as a teacher? And then I didn't know. I applied to KIMC twice. They were asking for a C. I didn't have a C. I was beyond C. So I was qualified for broadcast journalism. I applied for 2 consecutive years.
Yes.
I was told KIMC has not accepted me. But the worst thing is in the year 2008, no, 6. Yes, 6. I went to visit my mom in her Umoja house.
Yes.
And kama kawaida as a young girl, I decided to snoop. Yeah, girls we snoop. And I saw my application letters to Kenya Institute of Mass Communication. They never left her house.
Wow.
Yeah. I went home. Of course, I couldn't ask my mother anything. We didn't have that relationship where we can ask questions. I went home and asked my grandmother, why? What happened? And that's when she told me, your mother said you cannot join. I'd already got an admission to Kampala International. She said that is a private university, I cannot pay. I cannot pay because I took you to a private school na wewe unafikirianga wewe ni private sana. Fanya ualimu. I landed in Embu, decided, became a teacher. And I keep saying that teaching is not a bad profession, but I wish I never became one. Even today as I teach.
Even with the talkativeness,
Yes.
it doesn't help you in that profession.
You know, teaching and talkativeness, those are 2 different things. First, you become talkative, you become a threat to so many people. Because with the wounding that we have as Kenyans or as a society, you don't want anybody that speaks more than you speak. We read so many things when someone is speaking. So even with the talkativeness, teaching has never been, I've never felt at home as a teacher. But as I continued, I understood. Now today I say I am not really so excited about being a teacher, primary school teacher as I am, but I want to teach people how to do life. So that is somehow, it resonates very well. Now as I grow, I have realized, no,
So-
I can't really kill this teaching. It's
So there's
fine.
something mom saw, but she didn't see it completely through.
Yes. She wanted, wewe, unajua mtoto kuajiriwa na serikali. It is very important. You know, parents believe in security. Get a government job, teach. And of course, we live their life, their desired life. So probably my mom wanted to be a teacher or a nurse or something. So that's how I got to complete college, and then I landed into the world. And remember, I still feel I'm not good enough.
Yes.
Beautiful, not nothing. I landed in the hands of a man and found myself pregnant. I could not accept to be a single mother, me, like my mother, not at all.
This time you're at which age?
My son was born. I told you I wanted to get a baby when I'm 23. That's something I had prayed and forgotten. When I was turning 23, my son was 3 months old.
Oh, wow. So be careful about what you speak.
Oh yes, be very careful, because it will happen. So the relationship did not work, and the relationship did not work because today when I look back, we were 2 broken people.
Again.
Yes. Benji, I'll tell you today, you will never meet somebody who is outside of who you are. Yeah, you will not. And even if they are outside, you're fixing each other. There's, like, let me use the kawaida words, a narcissist. If you think your partner is a narcissist, then you're codependent. Look at you. What are they? What do they represent? Because they must be very familiar.
So there's something, let's see, if you have been abused, you look for somebody to abuse you.
But you will be saying no. You will. In fact, what I like to say is, now this is Rosemary, who lived in a home where my father was a batterer, was irresponsible, was never there. I will get a man who is like him, but wanting to make him better.
Wanting to fix him.
Secretly, you want to make him better. Yes. And when you get in and you realize, oh, this is not what I wanted, you will go to the usual African Christianese statement, tuvumilie. So you will suffer just like your mother suffered, or just like your father suffered. In case of men usually will marry their mother and hope to make her better. That's why you will find that the guy has gotten married to this lady and you're telling her, why can't you be like my mother?
Okay.
Yeah. Or you're like, and you'll say, I'll never marry a woman like my mother. But you will attract a woman who's like your mother, because that's the only thing that is familiar to you. The mind will only accept something that is familiar. something unfamiliar, it will be rejected. It will be rejected so fast. You will say she's controlling, because probably your mother was, maybe your mother was controlling, so you don't want someone who's like your mother.
Yes.
If your mother was talkative, you'll say you don't want a woman who talks, you want a woman who's quiet. You will get a woman who's quiet, but she will talk. Because, and you know, it is not face value, it is deeper than deep. I mean, programming that happened for over 12 years, you can't joke with that.
So basically you're saying that what we model as parents, our children will come to do what we do later on.
Yes.
With a very high probability.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Because they don't know anything else.
So what we model, they ape.
Yes.
Wow.
And there are people who say, I'm sure you've had this, you've gone through an addiction story, right?
Yes.
I'm sure you will say, kwetu hawakukunywa. Or there are people who say, my dad drank, so I'll not drink. And they actually don't drink. But they look for something else to replace this. They become workaholics. They become wife batterers. They become addicted to church. Because mimi siwezi, kwetu hakuwa tunaenda kanisa, I'm going to church. So you become so addicted to the church. And because you have not healed your wounds, but your childhood wounds, church becomes something that solves your issues.
So here when we're talking about church, we're talking about a distinction between spirituality and religion.
Yes. You become a very religious person. Yes.
And basically, for our dear viewers, religiosity is, or religion is basically how we have structured our lives to bring us together according to certain beliefs for God. Basically, it's like man reaching out to God. But in terms of spirituality is whereby man has a relationship with God and vice versa. So you're talking about you get lost in that structure, unapotea kanisani, and it affects everything else around you.
Everything. The pastor tells you, that girl you're looking at is not good. You drop. That job you got is demonic. You stop. You drop it. You actually stop living. And I keep saying religion is very divisive. Catholic, non-Catholic. Anglican, Pentecostal, like that. That is religion. Spirituality is very unifying. I take you as a spiritual being, somebody that is connected to me by the fact that we were created by one creator. So we are siblings. We love one another very unconditionally. That is spirituality. I do not judge you. I do not condemn you. Even if I find you broken, I will look at you as somebody who's limping.
Yes.
I will not even kill you further. But religion, me, I can't deal with your type. Us guys are better. So I got into religion. Yeah.
Wow. So you went through a journey of relationships?
No.
Bado?
Interestingly, I don't think I have had more than relationships. Not jokes. Relationships. Imagine there are 2.
Wow. With broken people?
Yes.
And then now to replace that, you got into religion?
Yes.
Wow. Take us further.
Now, when I realized I wasn't attracting a man, I decided to attract the man Jesus. Hallelujah. And it was okay. I think it was fine. I needed to. It was necessary. As much as it was religion, I think it served me. Because I would have really messed up if I hadn't had that. Because you can imagine you're at home, people are accusing you of sleeping around, but instead you're going for a church event. That to me saved me a lot, because I was going to mess my life if I didn't get that space.
So at least church gave you structure.
Mimi usema church ilinisaidia. Na siwezi sema, I wouldn't say that church is bad. I keep saying, if you're able to maintain your sanity even while in church, if you realize that heaven is given by God, not by man, church is fine. Even today, I'm still a church girl. I still serve with Christ Answer Ministries as a teen worker. Because na mimi juu ya what I went through, teens. That's where I love to go. So I still serve. My relationship with God has not changed, has even become better.
Yes.
Now. So I got into the church, served a lot, and got into brokenness. Church that had broken ministers. That's where we met. I have just said that, imagine. So I got into those churches, but then reached a point I got tired. because I am serving.
Mhm.
Siolewi,
Mhm.
sipati job poa, and I'm still serving. And then someone, mtu anajoin church leo, unasikia leader akisema, God will bless you. Aki, that person gets married. Me, no one.
You're not being seen.
Aki, I'm not being seen. Sometimes I would think vampire, fat. I would give all reasons.
Let me ask you, this is a bit out of topic. What's a fixation with Kenyan ladies and getting into marriage? And
Is it Kenyan ladies? By the way, it's a ladies thing.
it's a ladies thing.
It's a ladies thing.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
women are nurturers.
Mm-hmm.
And human beings
Mhm.
also thrive in relationships. If we only would be honest with ourselves.
Okay.
Relationships are very important.
So they help us grow.
They help us grow.
Mm-hmm.
The only challenge that has been there is that many of us do not get into good relationships or healthy relationships because we are unhealthy.
Okay. Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that's why you'd find someone getting into a string of relationships that are all funny. And
Okay.
you can't explain.
So basically because they're looking for answers in those people instead of looking at God and sorting themselves.
Yes, I keep saying looking at God to you know, even God helps you to see you.
Mhm.
Have you ever gotten real with God and then God starts to show you things? And you close your eyes and say, I don't want to see. Most of us don't want to get in, so we want out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So got into one ministry after another, after
Yeah.
another.
Basically, throughout my church, I think I've only served in 2 ministries.
Mhm.
I was an usher.
Mhm.
I was an usher for a very long time. Then I got into, when I changed churches, when I was tired,
Mhm.
and I changed churches and I joined now where I am, I became a youth worker. I began working with God. Not intentional. Like, in fact, I was saying, mimi sitaserve.
Aha.
Tired.
Mhm.
Mungu, tundakuwa tu na kuomba. Cause nilifundishwa.
Mhm.
Ndakuwa tu nakuja kuomba. So I got into the church now thinking I'm just going there to pray.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, I was picked.
Because of all the speaking thing again.
Maybe.
Mhm.
Anyway, do ever keep quiet. So yes, because of my speaking thing, I was called and I started serving in a ministry called the Young Professionals Ministry.
Mhm.
And that's how I began connecting to the youth
Okay.
and have gotten to now the place that I am. Sometimes I get shocked
Mhm.
because this vessel is so broken. This vessel is it's actually a broken vessel. So for me to find myself serving in the space that I serve at, sometimes shocks me, but I'm grateful. I find a lot of joy in serving with the young people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So so by the time you're finding this out, kilikuwa kimeumana, things had gone really wrong from the beginning.
Ooh, sana.
One thing is recognizing it.
And accepting.
Now, when recognizing, how did you feel? What was the emotional state when you were seeing these things? There's rejection here. There's this was happening with my mom. You're now reliving everything.
It was difficult. It was there are tears.
Because I remember you saying it was a written exercise.
It is hard. But then you cry, both mucus and tears. You really cry. But one of the things that kept me sane and kept me going is because I knew where I wanted to go. And then she gives you the hope. My coach Susan, Yani, she's amazing. She tells you after you have written your difficult life, she says there's a place to rewrite. Yes. And you rewrite it as you desire. Yes.
So get to reinvent your life again.
Oh yes, and that is the best thing. You know, you enjoy, you take yourself to Brook House because you can. So, and along that, she introduced to me things like meditation, exercise, journaling, routines. Because most of us are a mess because we don't have a routine. Gratitude.
Kusema tu asante. Saying
Imagine.
thank you.
Imagine.
What does that do for you?
Let me tell you, sometimes, unakaa hivi kama sasa, let's look at a day today.
Okay.
Budget imesomwa. Ni kubaya.
Budget was right today.
Apparently.
Uh-huh.
So budget imesomwa. Kuna traffic. Mat zimeongezwa.
Fuel has gone
Fuel
up.
ndio hiyo. Boyfriend amekukataa.
Syntax imepanda.
Syntax hiyo ni ngumu hata hiyo yenye umesema. So many things ni mbaya. Uwezi ona kitu ya kuwa grateful for. But look at here. Look at this. Benji, you can smile. You're alive. You got into a vehicle that landed in town. You walked. You got fare. You fed. You can move your head like this. You can play with your fingers. There's so much to be grateful for.
Wow. Wow.
What happens? Ulikuwa zile za, this life is so bad. We are going to die in the next 5 years. Then you begin to smile. Oh yes, my head, my neck, my... So the gratitude really changes your feelings. Yes.
So there's a chain reaction, not from your feelings. What does that do for your body, for your outlook in life, from what you interact with?
Now you start attracting good things. Because of course you're good. Then of course you glow. I mean, wewe unajua kwenye nimetoka. We have known each other. Maybe you can even see now. There's a bit of a glowing. So you start to glow. You start to feel, you know, it's like makeup. I tell people, when you work on the inside, the outside starts to work on itself. When you work on your inside, you're comfortable in your space. Have you seen people who cannot get out of the house without makeup? And you ask yourself, why? And she says, I'm very confident. I do my makeup very well. But should you remove the makeup, that gum gets broken. She goes back to her old self. And that's what she has been covering.
So the makeup basically was a mask.
It was a mask. And all of us are living in masks. Not all of us, many of us. But when you begin to do the inside job, the mask starts to get off. And you realize, by the way, this is a crown. Oh, I have a baby. You have a problem with the fact that I got a son at 23. I prayed for this son, and God was answering my prayer. Maybe not at the right way. I didn't know there was better. I didn't know that children should be born in a father-mother setup. Here I was born by a single mom, na niliishi. So that was my life. That was my path. That's what I knew. So you stop pretending and covering and becoming someone you're not supposed to become. Those wounds start becoming marks. You show. Oh, you show it with pride, like this one for which? This one is BCG.
Yes, it was BCG.
This one. You start showing it like that. It's important. It's nice. I love it. I love the life I've lived. That happens when you have worked on your wounds. When you have understood that even your mother, like for me, I remember I had a conversation with my mom and she was unhappy with some of the things I had said elsewhere. And I told her, I sat her down and told her, Mom, I don't judge you. And the reason I could say that on national TV is because I have already moved away from there. Because, Mom, it wasn't your fault. You didn't know better. You were also raised in a broken space. And even my grandfather was raised in a broken space. You know, I told her, I asked her a few questions. And she was like, Hiya, kumbe. Hey. Because I asked her, how did grandfather die? Dementia. Shosho. Stroke, and then there was diabetes. The relatives, my great-grandmother stroke. I told her, now that's a cycle. And it is not a curse. I want to say this, by the way, viewers. There is something we are calling generational curses. You know, a curse, I look at the Bible and I see curses. And I actually, do you know, I have been struggling to see generational curses in the Bible. But I have seen generational dysfunctions. Look at deceit in the family of Abraham. Who began the lie?
Sarah.
With who? With Abraham. And then Abimelech. And then you see how God is good. God alienda kwa Abimelech na ni Abimelech, the king.
The king, yeah.
He went to the king na akamwambia, if you don't release, I will punish the land.
Oh yeah, it started with Abraham and Sarah. Yeah. So they lied. No, they didn't tell the whole truth.
They didn't. If you don't tell the whole truth, Benji, you're lying.
Yes. So half truth is a lie.
Yeah, half truth is a lie. So then goes to who? To Isaac. The children lie. So the lies continue. Now, will you call those generational curses? No, they're dysfunctions.
Learned behavior.
Generational dysfunctions. So now, for you to break, sometimes, mimi si nimeenda deliverance, Benji. Hii ya ndoa, nimeenda deliverance. Nakimbia. Kwanza zile maombi Pastor Kiuna ameniombea, Bishop Alan. Ni mob. But today, I will not go for generational curse breaking. I mean, kwani God anahitaji how many times to break a curse? Sini once like this.
Blood of Jesus on the cross.
I mean, why did he die if we can't get this thing pap? But I realized there was nothing that was going to change if my mind was going to stay how it was staying. If I don't change the content in my subconscious mind, and it is not juju here in a reason in a question, deeper. The subconscious mind is below the conscious mind.
So you're talking about you have to go back to the foundations of yourself.
The foundations.
To look at what basically constitutes Rosemary.
Yes.
This is Rosemary. You had to change who Rosemary is.
Yes, and I have not really finished. I'm not actually promising I'll finish in the next 10 years. Because you discover something every day. I look at the way I related with a matatu driver, a matatu conductor, somebody.
Mulisumbuana ja 10 shillings.
Yeah. I'm like, which one now? Because now, at least now I'm aware. I can see when I'm going bad. I can see when I've not done something I should have done. I can see when some wound is coming up, it's gushing out. Because sometimes even these triggers we get are actually just our wounds gushing out. Yeah, so I had to go and look there. And I keep doing that every so often. Because those wounds don't heal in a day. In fact, you cannot work with a life coach for a month. You cannot.
How are those sessions structured? How do they work? Because people know about counseling. You go for one session a week or one every day for X amount of time.
You know, coaching is a relationship. It's actually the minimum you can do coaching is for 3 months. You know, it takes 7 days to accept new behavior, new things. 21 days for this thing you have begun to become a habit. 90 days for it to become a lifestyle.
Wow, that explains a lot. That's why even most rehab programs run for 90 days.
Yes.
Wow.
Because that's the only time you will change. That's when that will be accepted in your subconscious. By the way, this thing is not changing. Yeah, this is it. So for me to maintain a positive outlook to life, it has taken a long time. But it's been a year. I have worked with people who have seen our becoming different, my clients. But before, I wouldn't have worked with my coach for 32 weeks. At the way people are like, "Mi nataka change in a month," it's not possible. In fact, those relationships last very long, and you have to do a lot of work. You have to learn and unlearn a lot and relearn. Yes. You even begin now to question religion.
Wow. So, wondering how to structure this question properly. No.
Bring it as it comes. Get authentic.
I'm not a client. Anyway, on a serious note, you got to that point whereby you had issues with religion, and how did you go about it? How did you navigate? It's a very tricky place.
How did I navigate around religion? First, I had already started. I questioned things very early, especially, you see, now having gotten born again with a child. The reason I'm using child is because, quote unquote, Christians really judge this sexual sin that comes with a child. I keep saying, even if I had sex for years and I never had a child, nobody will judge me.
Because they wouldn't know.
They will say hallelujah even during my wedding, Dava White. Now I say, she's a holy one, holy matrimony. But when you get in with a child, there's that look of like, hey, you've been there, done that, printed a t-shirt, there it is. So I got in with a lot of people. The side eye was a lot. And my Bible had a different statement. The old is gone and the new has come. There is therefore no more condemnation. So I had that, but I wasn't seeing it. I had it in my mind. I knew this is what God has done in my life. He's not judging me, and he loves me.
Yes.
I've seen him do things in my life, miraculous things all the time. But now here are Christians not liking me, not being as nice, not treating me as if I've been forgiven. It's as if they're the carriers of forgiveness. Now with that, I focused differently. So when I started my coaching, I started asking questions. And I started realizing that even these people who are selling Christianity are actually broken. Most of them are trying to make sure that nobody, that first they don't want you to see their wounds, because probably somebody managed akakuwa pasi. They don't want you to see their wounds. And two, because they have also not, since they have not dealt with their wounds, they wonder why you are being seen. I'm sure you've seen people who look at you like, don't tell everybody what is going on in your life. Don't even tell anybody, keep it to yourself. Let's pray about it. You see, when we pray about it, if you have a wound today, Benji, you have a wound hapa kwa space, kwa mguu somewhere there.
Mazgwembe.
Between here, the other side of the knee.
Okay.
That place is here. You can easily cover that wound. Like the way you dress, nobody will see the wound. But unless we remove the jacket, we remove the shirt, and we wash that wound, it will never heal.
And for you to deal with that wound, you have to remove again the layers.
And there are many. Sometimes maybe the wound has been there for 7 years. Think of me. Probably I had a wound for 30 years. Those wounds were in there. Nobody had touched them. So it was going to be it was going to be messy. Religion does not allow for that. Religion is we cover and we forget. But let me shock you. You will be born again and attract a man who's broken. You will be born again and attract a woman who's a mess. She
The
has not
same
worked
way
on
you
your-
are.
Oh yes. Pastor Kathy used to say, you come to church to marry a born again Christian. And you say me, I'm going to church to get a girl who's born again. God will make sure you meet a girl who had also come to church to meet a born again Christian. You go there and mess each other up. God is not unfair. That's what Pastor Kathy used to say. But then that is I'm one person who remembers the interesting things, the unusual ones.
Okay. Yes, just continue.
So that is the reason why I felt those are some of the experiences I had as I was living my life.
Okay.
And I had to get real. Not getting in, kuosha. I knew that then there was a problem with religion, and I focused on spiritual relationship with God. And I laugh and tell people, from when I began working on myself, I've even had more conversations. When I say conversations, God doing things that I see. I would say this is something I was praying about and I've seen it happen. Because I would not just pray, I would pray and believe and have faith that is different. Not faith, you know, the one that says, when the Bible says that without faith you cannot please God.
Yes.
My faith has gone high because I no longer believe in what is happening. You get? And even when I'm praying, I'm not praying the Psalm 35. Those who contend with me. I don't pray that prayer. I go to God with a lot of gratitude, appreciating him. When I feel like complaining, I complain to God, by the way. If people don't, I do. I go to him like my father. And like before, when I would go to complain and tell God, God punish Benji. Benji has not been good. Now I don't go that way. I go acknowledging that Benji has not made me happy today, but God, he's your child. Deal with him as a father. Lord, I forgive him. I go there with a lot of happiness, and I've seen God become different. And guess what? I'm happier. My relationship with God, very different.
So the issue about the relationship with God, it's an attitude.
Yes,
need
but
an
you have to
attitude.
heal.
You have to heal first.
You have to heal first. By the way, religion with an unhealed person, or religion in the hands of an unhealed person, it is worse than the bombs we see. Yes, it is worse. That is, Benji, have you had people who tell people ati God anakam next year, msiende hosina mjifiche huko chini?
Yes, we
Huyo
are.
mtu ako religious, by then akopoa na by the way ana believe in the true God. Let's not lie, they don't believe in the true God. They believe in the true God. Lakini wako na vidonda.
So in their interpretation of whatever they saw or they had, they tell you you're getting healed, you're getting married next week, or things like that, which don't happen.
You're getting married next week and you don't even have a fiancé. How?
Which I know happened to you severally.
Me, that one. Do you know I never took that crap? I have never. It doesn't make sense. Mimi Benji sijai lose maswali. The only thing I never understood is bonus party. That was my only.
Okay. So for this coaching journey to happen, the coachee, yani
Yeah, the coaching.
the clients, what attitude must they have?
First, they must be ready to learn. They must be ready to learn, and they must also be ready to release. Though it's hard, releasing takes a while. Then you have to stop justifying.
Hapo fafanua zaidi, the justification bit.
I talked about childhood wounds, and I go back to my own story. Remember, my mom had me when she was younger.
Yes.
So everything she was doing, she was trying to help me not be like, to help my story not turn like her story. Now, she was doing that from a broken place. You get? So I started to justify that I was not abused. I did not experience something I call advanced childhood experiences. I was not neglected. I started to say, no, she didn't neglect me. She left me in the hands of her mother, who was a better parent than she was. What you do, you nullify, you actually blame yourself because already you're suffering. You remove what happened, and now you continue to condemn yourself. But the moment you start to realize, yes, my mom did that, but she didn't do that intentionally. She didn't wake up and decide, I'm going to mess this girl's life. She was just doing what she thought was the best in her space then. You must remove all justification. You must remove judgment. You allow yourself. But it's not something you wake up to at the day you begin the sessions. No. You first I have to walk with you and tell you how behavior is formed. Yeah, I have to tell you, like now, people, like girls come to me telling me, boyfriend yangu ameniwacha. Nami sijui kwa nini. Boyfriend nimemsaidia haki. boy hata hakukuwa na job nikamtafutia. Nikachukua loan nikambaia sijui nini. When you listen to the girl speaking, you can almost feel, even me if I was your boyfriend, I would have left. So you have to bring her to herself first. You have to ask her, where did you learn this from? How was it growing up? You know, my mom is the one who was taking care of the home. So you see, we are going back to your childhood. You will tell me, you know, even when I was growing up, the reason why I have been helping my boyfriend, sizi taka watoi wangu wapitie kenye tulipitia. Fadhali alikuwa anakuja home akiwa mlevi. Mind you, boy yako naye ni mlevi.
So she went and looked for another drunkard?
No, hakuwa drunkard. Alikuwa social drinker.
Okay.
So when everything begins inakuanga chini ya maji. Remember, you attract your father and make him better. You attract your mother because you cannot attract your father. You attract your mother and make her better. Sadly, it doesn't happen. Mama atatokezea, and then unajua ni modern ni tofauti. So you have to be ready to work inside. And you have to learn to answer questions you don't want to answer. So coaching is not for lazy people. If you want to be coached, don't be lazy. If you want to be coached, don't be rigid.
You have to be very open-minded.
Very open-minded.
So if you're told, oh, it's a suggestion, by the way.
Yeah.
Go back to your roots. Research.
That's not a suggestion. I have to tell you to go back to your roots. You have to. Yeah.
Okay. So the more thorough you do it, the more thorough you do the assignments that you're given, the better your quality of life or quality. Let's start with the answers, and the quality of life becomes.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
You can't achieve much in coaching or as a coaching client when you have not worked on yourself.
Wow.
And there's no coach. If a coach tells you ati tutawaki kitu within 2 weeks, that's a lie. That is a lie, because it's a deeper story. Tunaenda ndani sana. And there's something I keep saying, and I'm actually telling everybody, this every time. The greatest doors open inside.
Repeat.
The greatest doors open inside.
Wow.
You want to change the quality of your life right now. Forget about the people surrounding you. Don't tell me sijui your mother, your wife, your boss. Forget about the people around you. Go inside.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. There you have it, folks. As we told you, the conversation with her may never end. So as we end, I want to read out something, then she will give you her contacts, how you can reach her for services, maswali, swali, yoyote. I believe nearly any question.
Yoyote, by the way.
Nearly any question.
Nearly any. Na nikishindwa kujibu ndakwambia sitajibu.
You will refer to a more qualified person.
More qualified. I'm very qualified.
Okay.
Anyway, yes. If it's not something I can handle, I will refer you to somebody. Because I can't handle somebody who's, like, if someone came with addiction, I may not be able to handle them. I may not be able to handle the addiction part.
Yeah. Okay. So I'd like to read out something about James Muturi Njoroge. He was involved in an accident on the 12th. And he was in a coma for a very long time, but right now he has gone through a lot of surgeries and through a lot of work. His memory has started to come back. He woke up last week, and now the medical bills get him to about 2 million shillings. So we'd like to ask you if you're kindly able to M-Pesa this in the phone line 0705 185 587. Let me repeat again. 0705 185 587, so that you can get to him. You can give something to their family so that they can offset those bills. For those who do not know who that is, the gentleman who has come to this show 3 times has talked about suicide, has talked about addictions, and has talked about running. He talked about exercise. We were to do a show about how to do low impact exercises, but accidents happened. Now, back to you.
Yes. What am I supposed to say? That we are concluding.
That we're concluding. That's the first thing. Secondly, you're supposed to give out your contacts.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so as I've said, the greatest doors open inside. So anytime viewers, you feel there's a challenge, I usually say I'm your sister in growth. You can reach out to me on my phone number, 0703 666 439.
Mm-hmm.
0703 666 439. On Facebook, Rosemary Ngugi. Yes, those are the places that you can find me. This face is there on Facebook. And come, let's talk. But please, men, stop wanting to marry me on what's on Facebook. I'm not sure you're ready for the journey. If you call me, you'd send me a text, hi, and I'm like, hi, I want to marry you. You may not be able to work with a life coach. She will ask you questions you don't like.
Wow.
So yeah, but yes, thank you so much for having me. And I look forward, this conversation has not ended. We have not even touched on childhood. So I think we need to get back.
Yes, yes. We'll do something next month, if possible.
No problem.
Okay,
Yeah.
sawa. So there you have it, folks. That has been part 1 of Uncovering Childhood Wounds. And we wish you to have a wonderful, wonderful budget day. Thank you.